Should the USA place a fat tax on sugary drinks and junk food to combat obesity? Why or why not? We have a sugar tax in San Francisco. I work for a soda company and we expected our sugar-free sales to rise, but we found out people actually don't care about paying 5 cents more for what they want. This could have to do with the demographic of SF and might not hold the same across the country. This is actually already a thing in Philadelphia, minus the junk food. It's extremely unpopular here. I read that sales dropped 50% in the city while it raised sales outside of it over 40%. Making this a national policy would cause a lot of upset. Edit, I feel compelled to add, since this keeps coming up, that I do support the idea behind taxing unhealthy foods. Obviously something needs to be done about the obesity rates and health issues going on in this country. However, I also feel like there are better ways to do it. Instead of increasing the cost of unhealthy foods, which as other commenters have said can have negative effects on the poor, although this seems to be under debate, why not try to decrease the cost and increase the variety of healthier food options? Why not increase education and awareness around healthy eating? Or why not pass regulations requiring junk foods to have less of the ingredients that make it junk? I feel like there are so many other alternatives that aren't guaranteed to piss people off. I think the money collected from the tax went to fund public schools as well. That was the idea. A lot of people are upset because to raise something like $100M plus that's sitting there unspent. It was also supposed to go to community rebuilding projects, but they only put a few $100,000 into that so far, last I read. Yep, this from the Philadelphia Office of the Comptroller's report of the Philadelphia beverage tax revenue and expenditures. Through the first quarter of fiscal year 2019, the total revenue generated by the Philadelphia beverage tax is $137.0 million. The majority of Philadelphia beverage tax revenue, $101.2 million, has not yet been spent and remains in the general fund. Since the inception of the tax, $31.7 million or 23.2% of total revenue collected has been spent on pre-K, $3.5 million or 2.5% on community schools, and $605,431 or 0.4% on rebuild. Spending is listed as Philadelphia Parks and Recreation Special Projects Rebuild and FAMAS. The scam is that they just reduce the funding from other sources and the budget basically stays the same. I have yet to see where they actually significantly increase school funding, beyond normal yearly adjustments, rather than reduce a previous source. In most cases it's just a wash that frees up more cash that goes to the general fund while creating nice headlines. They do the same exact thing in Oklahoma. We had a measure to increase the sales tax 1%, bringing our sales tax to one of the highest in the nation, and the money would go towards schools. However, there have been 4 different propositions that were supposed to increase school funding over the past 30 years, but every time something passes, they just divert the original funds. Every damn time. That's how you know it's a hustle. It's double-edged. Gambling addicts get to mentally justify the spend cause they're helping the schools. School budgets don't expand, but when challenged they can always point to figures that show the lottery money 100% went to the schools, while hiding the reduction of original sources. If you remove subsidies from the food industry, I think you will find that healthy foods end up far cheaper than unhealthy ones. Edit, thanks for my first gold silver. This. Subsidies distort the market to an unbelievable degree. To pick just one example, the subsidized production of corn makes HFCS super cheap. If these subsidies were removed, sugary drinks would automatically be more expensive. And likely so would beef, encouraging people to find substitutes. Instead we want to subsidize the agribusinesses that make the stuff, then tax the consumer at the point of sale. Can we at least start with removing the subsidies? Teresa reason corn subsides will never die. The Iowa caucuses, any politician with any presidential aspirations, all of them, has to support bullshit corn and ethanol subsides. Make Iowa less important in the primary calendar and the subsides will disappear. Another reason why Iowa should not be arbitrarily be first. I like a policy where the state with the highest percentage turnout from last election cycle goes first. This gives people another incentive to go out there and vote. Edit, highest percentage turnout. Why not everyone at the same time? The reason I've heard, among others, is that a single day of primaries hurts lesser-known candidates without as much of a national reach. That would help reaffirm that we only get a few rich candidates to choose from. A staggered primary does help with this. But Iowa always being first also hampers this. Like Op says about corn subsidies, any candidate that wants to break out early has to do well there first. Would a rotating system work? Have a staggered primary but every election year the order of which states is chosen randomly? Yeah, but also no ducking caucuses. And we don't have to have it spread out over such a long time period, that disproportionately benefits those with tons of money. Instead of making soda and junk more expensive, how about we make healthy food less expensive? I'd say nah, because there's a huge gray area. Oh, so definitely we're taxing butter. White bread definitely, yeah, the nice artisan French bread is included under that umbrella. All condiments will tax, ketchup is sugar and mayo is oil. Pickles too, yeah, they're just pure sodium. Etc. Just look at Seattle where milk-based beverages are exempt from the sugary drink tax, so people can still get their untaxed Starbucks drinks with more sugar per ounce than a can of Coke. Lamau. What a mess. Speaks for how preposterous these regulations are. They're regressive. They are taxes that are only effective to poor, working-class families. Look, I weight train and exercises about 12 hours a week pre-pandemic. If I want a soda pop once or twice a month, why on earth do I have to pay additional tax for that? People are just going to pay the tax and be upset. It won't deter people from buying the tax. For example, in Portland we have a bottle tax, and it doesn't deter people from buying bottles, it just mildly upsets people. Or causes people to buy the 40 ounces rather than the 2 cans because even though it's more beer it's less tax. If I have to pay for a tax on each soda pop, I'll just buy a liter rather than the 1 to 2 bottles. People being upset about taxes on beverages is a time-honored American traditional. See, Boston Tea Party. Edit, I commented this below but figured it belongs here, or you could just drop the subsidies for unhealthy food. Processed meat and dairy causes cancer and CVD, yet those things are far less expensive in the market than healthy vegan options due to subsidies. Instead of taxing higher foods, why don't we just stop recommending carcinogenic foods and subsidizing them for cheaper amounts? The CDC website both says that processed meat is carcinogenic and recommends eating it for a healthy meal. It's not consistent at all. We all know how Americans reacted to a tea tax. If the tea drinking community got that fired up, imagine what the Mountain Dew drinking community would do. Gamers rise up. Oh, gamer revolt. I got this, guys. Hey, double XP on all games until the revolt's over. I have never been so offended by something that would 100% work on me. It's currently double XP weekend and your boy has only stopped playing to go to the gym. Go to the gym, fake gamer confirmed. Loser probably even gets laid, SMH. Probably even has his own house. No. It just seems like a patronizing money grab that will disproportionately hurt low-income individuals that live in food deserts neighborhoods with few or no grocery stores and limited availability of fresh and non-processed food. No, sin taxes are stupid and shouldn't be legal. Sin taxes are basically a tax on poor people and it doesn't help them at all. It hurts them more than it hurts anyone else. No. I don't believe it's the government's job to control the choices people make. Even if it was, the US provides abundant subsidies to the corn industry, so sugary food is already technically subsidized. Also, I don't trust regulators to do it right. For some reason we already have a meaningless label on our food for added sugar that makes juices appear healthy. No. I don't believe it's the government's place to stop citizens from doing stupid shit that harms themselves. The point of a tax on an unhealthy product is to offset the healthcare costs related to its use. Deterring use because of cost is a bonus. As the US government does not believe in universal healthcare, it should definitely not be taxing it at a higher rate. That's my opinion anyway. In European studies, it actually costs a lot less in healthcare for people to live unhealthy lives because it more often leads to heart attack and stroke, the cheapest deaths, right around retirement age. The majority of healthcare costs come from people who live a long time and are on like 30 meds a day and double knee and hip replacements and multiple hospital stays and elderly care services. This is of course putting no value on living beyond retirement age, but purely economically it really doesn't have any. Yep, it's cheaper for people to die young because they're fat or have lung disease from smoking than it is for them to live a long and healthy life because they end up needing shit like hip replacements at 80 years old and or a pharmaceutical cocktail for breakfast, lunch, And dinner because their body is simply slowly breaking down from old age, which is inevitable. Nope, I lift weights, spin, and run. I keep myself at an acceptable weight and health level. I don't want to pay extra for an occasional snack because other people can't control themselves. No. That's called petty tyranny. Therese, this underlying idea that I've encountered a lot recently, in which any social problem needs to be solved via top-down legislation, usually at the federal level. Obesity and diet are a major issue, but I think there are probably better ways to bring about the change without jumping into the murky waters of banned legislation. Incentives, social change, supporting healthier food options, etc., etc.